All right, welcome back to STR Wealth Academy YouTube channel. I'm Katrina.
I'm Michael.
And we are the co-creators of STR Wealth Academy, anything Airbnb, short-term rentals, how to start your own Airbnb without actually owning property, or if you do want to own property, which properties to look at, how to start and be successful in this industry.
So if you're new to the channel and this is the first time here, welcome. Make sure that you like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so that you get made aware anytime that we release new content on this channel, which happens on a weekly basis. All right, let's dive into it. Now, in our last video, we gave kind of a high-level overview of the steps that is going to take in order for you to have success in this industry in 2024. What we wanted to do in this video specifically and upcoming videos is just to really break down and give kind of the finer details of each of these steps so you have a roadmap to run on for the next, well, for all of 2024 here.
Yeah, and it's really important when you're getting into this space with short-term rentals and Airbnb is to treat it like a business. So this is what we're diving into today is step one, which is forming a business. So essentially an LLC, why we need to do it, why it's important to do it off the get-go, and really the details behind it.
So one of the most important reasons you want to have a business entity when you're getting started in this industry, and really any business for that matter, is because when you form an entity, what happens is this is what's called the corporate veil, okay? So this gives you protection between you as an individual and the activities of the business, because at the end of the day, one of the biggest things we've learned, you don't have to be worth millions of dollars to have $1 million plus mishap in business, right?
Yeah.
So you want to be smart, you want to protect yourself, you want to make sure that if the worst was to come to pass and someone was going to come after you, you as a person and your personal assets would be protected if someone was to try to create a lawsuit and sue you.
Yeah, so this is really important. I mean, it's just having that degree of separation between your personal assets and the assets of your business. So this is really coming down to risk mitigation as a business owner. Michael used to be in corporate finance, and his thing all about foreign currency was risk mitigation. So this is so important. This is right up your wheelhouse. And this is super important because if the worst comes to pass in your business, you know, you can only lose the extent of what's inside of your entity if you set it up appropriately from the beginning, instead of losing everything you own. So this is why it's so crucial, guys, to make sure you're setting up the appropriate business entity from the beginning. This
is so important because you wouldn't want to have something happen where someone can come after your home, your cars, your retirement accounts, you know, your life savings, right? You know, there's a reason why they're called life savings. It's because they take a long time to accumulate. And if you go down to zero and have to start all over again, that's not a great outcome. And we want to try to avoid that as much as possible.
So it's also very important to note that not every state, not every country area that you're in offers the same level of protection when you're looking at setting up a specific business entity. So it really comes down to what they say, piercing the corporate veil. So despite having the entity set up, they can still come after you personally if you don't have it set up appropriately.
Yeah, this is something a lot of people don't talk about. A lot of people in our space say, just go ahead and file in any state. It doesn't really matter.
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. That's actually not true at all. So every state has different laws, different regulations, different standards in how they view the corporate veil. And some states are much, much easier to pierce the corporate veil than other states. Now, as far as how that works, you know, we're not accredited lawyers or professionals, but this is something that you want to do some research on to get the right guidance and advice on this, because you could take the right steps to get your entity set up, but if it's not done properly, you basically lose all of the benefits that you would otherwise get by going through the process and getting this in place for your business.
And that's a good point. I want to go over the huge tax advantages that you actually get by setting up an appropriate LLC. So if you think about it, if you personally, like if you work a 9-to-5, a corporate job, essentially the process is you earn money from your, let's say your business, or not your business, your workplace. Then what happens is you get taxed on top line on those earnings that come in, and then you get to spend what's left over. With the business side of things, it's quite reversed. You earn money, you get to spend that money, and then get taxed on the net income. That small switch alone right at the beginning, or right at the end there, is massive. And that's why it's really important to set up an LLC.
Yeah, anyone that's saying that you should do this as a sole proprietor or under a partnership, you want to get some good advice on that, because this could have massive implications for you at the end of your year when you're running your business on the amount of tax that you're going to pay, okay? Because that difference between getting taxed on your gross earnings versus your net income is a huge difference in how much tax you're going to pay and ultimately how much money you're going to save over the course of the year as you're running your company.
So one of the most important things as well when setting up a business LLC in a specific entity is that you want to be able to do this right off the get-go. This is module 1 of our STR Wealth Academy training, is setting up your business entity. This is massive. We make sure all of our students do this because the thing is like you want to treat it like the business from the get-go, but you also want to start building business credit.
Yeah.
Having some history on your account, because as your entity ages, it's going to become more credit worthy and you're going to have better bookkeeping, your financials dialed in, and this will greatly assist you over the long term. So over the long term, you're going to be looking at setting up, maybe you want loans, maybe you want credit cards. If you just have a brand new account, it's going to take time to build up that history.
100%. So one of the other benefits you're going to get, of course, too, if you do go through the process of setting this up, it's just going to give you more credibility and professionalism in everything that you do, okay? Because, if you're getting a client on board with your company and you're signing the agreement in your personal name versus it being in a business name, again, that's going to start raising red flags with some people saying like, well, who is this person? Are they an actual business or is this just some guy or gal rolling in off the street, right?
So take it from us. It's the first thing you do, set up an appropriate LLC from the get-go. You can start building that history.
The final thing, again, probably the biggest differentiating factors of why you want to do this is it just sets you up for success over the long term. We said this in our previous video that if you do things that successful companies do, you're going to significantly increase the likelihood that 1, you're going to stay in business, but 2, you're going to be able to create that success and be profitable over the long term. Okay, so really, really important stuff, guys. Do not neglect any of these steps. Now,
I know it's not sexy, it's not
but
it's not fun, but it's so important.
It's super, super, super important. Now, you might be wondering, okay, well, all this sounds great. I understand the benefits, but how do you do it? Okay, so there's really only 2 ways that you can kind of go about this. There's what we call the less expensive way, and there's what I'd say is the recommended way that we would coach and train someone on this. Okay,
which in the long run is actually the less expensive way as well.
Yeah, because sometimes like you can go through these steps and you might think you're good, but again, if you don't have this actually done properly, you could be opening up a can of worms for yourself in the future.
So let's start off with the less expensive way. So essentially, it's doing it yourself, a DIY. But it could cost you more in the longer term, just like we mentioned. But really, when all you need to do, go online, go on Google your location, setting up an LLC. So that's how simple it is, and then following the steps in your state, in your area.
So depending on what location, there might be a few different prompts and hoops you got to jump through. That's a way you can definitely do, okay? And in most places, it's going to run you a few $100s, okay?
Yeah.
If you're in Canada, you can literally just go to a registry, the same place that you get your driver's license or something like that, and just go and set up a corporation. Probably going to run you a few $100, okay? That's the cheapest and most cost-effective way to do it if you're going to do it yourself. The problem, though, again, because not every state and not every location gives the same protections and benefits depending on where you set this up. Our recommended way is you want to get with an accredited professional, either a CPA or an attorney that can just give you the right advice and show you how to do this properly right off the bat.
So one of the most important things is, as we mentioned earlier, is how many times you pierce the corporate veil and how you're setting it up. So if you're kind of still on the fence being like, I don't really know what that means, like how do I protect myself? I want to have the right advice, especially for Airbnb, short-term rentals. We are in the hospitality industry. So really when you're looking at this, what we'd recommend, and below this video, we actually have a link that you can schedule a complimentary one-on-one consultation, 1-hour call with our team that literally specializes in this, and is both for Canada and the United States. So if you have any questions, you get that. But there's a caveat with it. Please make sure that you're, number 1, serious about setting up an Airbnb business, or you have an existing Airbnb short-term rental business and you want advice on it. And it's very important when you're setting up this call of having all your ducks in a row. So having your finances, understanding where everything's at with your business. So it's a really fruitful call when you're able to schedule in.
And you're going to see really quickly how important getting personalized advice is on something like this, because at the end of the day, your situation's different. Your starting point is not going to be the same as everyone's. If you have family, if you have children, depending on the amount of assets you have coming into your business. What kind of risk do you carry depending on how you want to set this up? Again, this is why it's important just to get the right personalized advice. Make sure that you're doing this properly, setting yourself up for success over the long term. So that would be our personal recommendation. So again, if you want someone to kind of walk you through this process, there's a link to our team's calendar below. They'd be happy to have a 1 hour consultation with you and give you that advice that you're looking for.
All right, this is everything about setting up your Airbnb business foundations, why it's important to separate yourself personally, set up a proper business entity, LLC, corporation, and make sure that you are on the right foundations from the get-go.
So in upcoming videos, again, we're going to dive into more detail of each of these 8 parts of how to get started, how to get your business up and running in 2024, and most importantly, how you can find success in this industry even today.
All right, guys, see you in the next video.
Take care, everyone.